See how things go.
Oh, no!
Tony Caravan. You've been subjected to a highly sophisticated form of propaganda.
It's just what you need, and not what you don't. Just sit right back and you'll hear a tale.
It's an excursion into the odd and into the very, very different.
Good morning!
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. And I always forget to deselect some kind of thing, by the way.
You're listening to Tony Caravan Live.
Then what? Nerve Gorilla's on live now there's some argument between some guy about prophecy and like a guy talking about prophecy and a guy doing like a atheist, type. It's an interesting discussion. I almost sat and listened to it. Parts of it were kind of hilarious. Nerve Gorilla. He had one viewer, so I became two, but when I left there were four, so I figured, I'll leave. But I could have stayed. I picked up a copy of my book just off the shelf here because I have no idea what I wrote in it. I was wondering if I talked about, as I look through this holiday horror story, I wonder if I talked about my neighbor in here and how I thought she got in the way of me dating or trying to date one of these nurses. The last time I went over to the doctor's office next door to me, less light. The one nurse that I had this weird, a couple of years ago, I thought about it. But I've long since, It's like you get out of that thing and then you just don't think about it anymore. This is a fairly interesting book, just like my other one. Well, it's on the shelf on the thing there. But man, I got slight pain in my pancreas. I had a pain in my liver and gallbladder most way through the night. I didn't sleep well. Slurp, coffee's plain. I ate an avocado because it's supposedly a healthy fat. That was my breakfast, since yesterday was all sugar. And so I don't know what this pain on the right side is all about now. I don't know. It could, it's weird. It's like, you don't know what you don't know, and I don't know what I don't know. I don't know anything. But I'm doing these shows. It's 4:33 a.m. on the 2nd of March in the year 2022. So it's another one of those 22s. So today will be, even though it's 3/2/22, but it's still a 2/22, and it's a Wednesday, though. It rained last night, but it drizzled, so I don't think nothing made it down to the second floor. And I didn't go up to the third floor, like I say. We'll see if this coffee wakes me up. I've been used to having this sugar buzz, but I just didn't do any sugar today. I just did an avocado with some, I just put some olive oil on it and rosemary. And maybe a little ginger. It's weird. Like I said, I'm starting to get to the point where I can't even figure out what to eat. But hey, Trey, how you doing, man? Good to see you. Yeah, it's wacky. So it's supposed to be a lot of rain on and off for the next week or so. In fact, this is that if you ever watch that, what is it? Something Hall Y'all, the weatherman. He's on YouTube Weatherman. He was taught he's pretty much pushing like a march comes in like a lion and out like a lamb, which I've been saying all, for a couple of years now, because it's starting. The weather patterns reverted back to a cycle that's about 30 some years old. And, but if you look at the weather on YouTube, like on my app that's on my desktop computer, the earliest rain is Sunday. But if you ask your voice assistant, it's like, oh, it might rain today again, and this, that, the other, and all that stuff. It's like, But I put so much of that damn rubber stuff and crap down. I still have the picture. I don't know. I think I changed it out to a tree. Daily photo. It's not even showing. I'll put it up for those who haven't seen this. Show Redux. What are we calling this? Additions. Trim tree back. No, that's not it. Attic. This would be attic attic. Attic with a date. 228 fixes. 228 final. Yeah, we go. So this is what would have happened last night. Or, what was facing, the rain. And I have no idea. Other than under that, I just reinforced it because under it was pooling, and I think that's how it was getting down in the bedroom. I know it's ridiculous. But, there's a certain symmetry to it, and it's like there's so much goop on that wall, which is literally the roof wall, that eventually, I don't know how anything's going to get in, but it'll get in, I'm just going to go free form with this and just get crazy, and, I don't know if you have, watching this, do you have the ability to comment? But apparently if you comment, you go up in, not chat, but if you comment, that's like something that boosts people in the ratings. So feel free to make a comment on this, whether you're watching it. Well, it's only Trey right now. But what if you're somebody in the future person, if you're watching this, make a comment, subscribe, like, all that good stuff. This picture, this title card goes back to the early internet, to the 90s. It's about 25, some years old. And, this has been, there were a couple different shots, different versions. And as the story goes, and I'll just talk about that just to get us started, and we'll see where we go. People have called this stuff out as being, hoaxes and Photoshop stuff and all that kind of crap. But you got to remember 25 years ago, Photoshop was a piece of shit, basically. So, but I mean, it's not to say that people weren't faking photos, even before Photoshop and whatnot. Computers. I mean, I worked in a darkroom when I was a kid, and we used to touch up negatives, because we had to fix them up, to clean up the artwork. So just the same techniques of cleaning up a photo is quite easily to fake a photo. But this photo this was one of my favorites. I have another one somewhere. I don't know where it is. I haven't seen it in a while, but I had it in my bin, of things to, where I put things aside in a folder that I might use on this show. And I didn't feel like wasting time anymore, so I just thought I'd get on the air. They didn't sleep well, but then I finally got a little bit of sleep. I had one of these dreams, the dreams that even till you go to sleep and then you wake up, they say this cat just keeps coming to my face, waking me up and all this stuff but you get back to sleep and the dream like continues. It's like a movie. And I tell you, I'm not going to fixate or focus on it now because it's pretty much out of my mind. I probably could remember it if I wanted to. But my head's not in that space right now. But the thing was, I do recall remembering going like, this is almost as if a movie is being dictated to me verbatim. And the idea, but I was living it or in it or watching it or whatever part of it, who knows, dream worlds. And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit. And fakeries and life and existence, and you don't know what you don't know, and what do you believe, what is real, and all this kind of stuff. And it's I think that's what I'm getting at is it doesn't matter that I didn't write this thing down or go to my voice recorder and say and quickly put the plot down into something and write it or whatever. It's the phenomenon that it happens. And it happens to me, recently I've noticed a couple of times, and I may even have commented on a previous show about something along those lines that happened to me, that thing. Chat's boosting. So the thing do that too. Anything does anything. Like I said, I was just over at this nerve gorilla guy, man. He's out of control. He does whatever the heck he wants to. He's ridiculous. He's insane. Feel free to take a break. Nerve, NIRV gorilla. He's got the Netscape, the old Netscape browser thing up. And what he does is he plays old like radio shows. And it's his chat and these radio shows. And sometimes he gets a bunch of people on there just chatting and just pushing. And occasionally he might have something that has video on it, but a lot of times it's just some still or some VU meter from his computer or something on the screen. He's an off the wall. This guy's out there. You would think that YouTube he would have been canned a long time ago because he pushes the limits beyond the limit. But anyway, in case he tunes in here, I've talked to him. We talked already before through one of those other voice services or there's other video service. It's on the tip of my tongue. It's not one of the common ones. It's not like a Zoom or a Skype or anything like that. There's this other one. I can't even think of it. It's one he uses all the weird stuff in the world. He has this weird software program or thing you can put your text in. That you ever notice that some people, the descriptions under their video, they're like just XXXXX's, well, like a box around them and stuff. Well, I think that's it. I'm not sure if that's it, but you go to this site. I'll tell you what the site is. Oh, it's on my other browser. Well, there's this site where you can go and you type in any text and it converts it into this gibberish type of thing. And then so anyone else, all they have to do is copy and paste that text and put it to that same page, and then they could decode the gibberish. But it totally messes with the YouTube algorithm because YouTube isn't like decoding this gibberish. And the way this is set up, it's got some kind of it's not the same thing, so it's not as if they could figure it out. It's like old code, old military, code things. In other words, the code would change, would move in different directions. The code would change daily, sometimes multiple times during the day. But it's the same code. But in other words, the starting point, beginning point, or something like that, you would be altered. And so you tie a computer into something like that, and you really can make something that's virtually impossible. The algorithm, that would be like an AI. At best, AI could try to find some predictive behavior of it, and to figure it out. But I mean, the complexity and to sick something on something like that only a handful of people are doing just to fuck over YouTube, basically. And people who they don't even care about. Like they even though I got a lot of copyright strikes, got 2 copyright strikes this week. It's still weird. They're still obviously blocking me, and I'm still a non-entity, so that's just pure algorithmic, But YouTube has written me completely off. They just don't give a shit. Anyway, back to this photo. So there was also a story of a UFO that hit a windmill somewhere down in the Midwest, the South Midwest. Maybe it was Texas. I forget the name of the town. And this is all back in the early days. You could see these guys. This was like Civil War time, the uniforms they have on, And so, and a lot of these cases, this like might have been post-Civil War, There's a lot of like guys, that's the only clothes they had, so they wandered around the country for a while like that. If you ever watch the Outlaw Josie Wales, it's like, clothes didn't come easy and people didn't have a lot of money and people were just wandering around. But there were stories that there were still prehistoric, what we call prehistoric birds, but really odd things here in North America when they came over. And particularly a flying thing makes sense. Now you have to remember that, some of the stuff that I've talked about in the past that is actual matter of factual because we actually dug it up. I must have said this 100 times. The woolly mammoths they found with undigested food in their stomach. But there was also this giant bear that had like kind of a snubby nose, but there was a real monster. If you confronted a bear, right now, like a full-grown bear, and it got on its hind legs and it stood up and with its big claws out at you. I mean, that is and its teeth, that's a pure definition of a monster that a kid would be like scared, shitless of, right? But there was a bear at the time. This is the Younger Dryas period, right when the woolly mammoths were wiped out. And this whole period that's supposed to repeat again, within the next decade or two. And the saber-toothed tiger, which most people have heard of. A lot of people, I always thought when I was even coming up, through school and stuff, in my mind, the saber-toothed tiger was something, that was some like almost dinosaur era type of thing. But no, the saber-toothed tiger was like here, basically, but when that event occurred, right, which people are tying into the flood and the maybe the destruction of Atlantis it's crazy. This is the Younger Dryas 12,000-year cycle of the sun. The sun goes wacko and, and boom, it's a near extinction event. And then, people always wondered, I talked about this a little bit earlier, but I'm just going to get into this because, so repetitiveness is just, something that has to be done because we're pooling that information together to make a different point. Okay, so you may have heard all of this stuff in different contexts, but today's context is just we're going somewhere. So buckle up for the ride. So all of these peoples, if you watch these History channels, Discovery channels, and now all this stuff has moved to YouTube, the unexplained and all this other stuff, people talk about all this, such and such Indians, they disappeared, they vanished. Nobody knows where they went, and then just like I talked yesterday or the day before, one of those days, they went down under the ground and the ant people to survive. And then it makes sense that they went to survive this cataclysmic event. But there were these people who were underground who guided them ant people, giants, and different kinds of things who may still be living there, aliens, grays, all kinds of weird stuff like that. And now the government has discovered those things, and I talked about that there's like some places down in the Grand Canyon entrance to some of these caves that like have like literally the NASA logo on now and are like off limits, right? Area 51 type of restriction areas. So it's like, why? What the hell has NASA got an area like that up, you know, in the cave, right? Right? It just doesn't make any sense. So anyway, to make a long story longer, I just had to get rid of one of these weird chats things, chatbot things. And so there's a lot of crazy shit, and what they're doing is they're putting down apparently so-called bunkers and stuff because they figured, well, if these Indians, Native Americans, and remember, Native Americans, you could call Native Americans that if you want to, but like I say, every Indian I ever encountered, and remember, I drove across the United States on multiple occasions. Most Indians I knew referred to themselves as Indians, you know? So, you know, it's just the way it is. We're not talking about India, who also are Indians, but I mean, you know, American Indians. But whatever the case you may be, they, you know, it's as if we know the CIA. I showed you that document. I still have it. You know, we know the CIA covered up and classified that ridiculous story, right? The Adam and Eve story that basically showed the cataclysm, right? You know, what's this thing here? Okay, that's that again. And this one here, that's that one. Feature. What is feature? Oh, okay. That was my indoor thing. That'll have to be renewed. Let's see if the CIA thing is just handy here. Because I remember the last time I looked for it, it was right there. So I don't think I got rid of it. Yeah, Adam C. Yeah, it's right here. So, you know, we know about this, you know, classified in part, sanitized copy, approved, CIA, blah, blah, blah. This is real. You can go to CIA.gov and you could find this up. This isn't some woo-woo thing. And with a rumble so low, blah, 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 an earthquake recorded highest, you know, an earthquake like none others in history. The Pacific rears, packs up, piles into a mountain of water more than 2 miles high, then starts its race eastward, blah, blah, blah. Basically, North America is frickin' destroyed, okay? And the CIA found for some reason they had to, like, classify this for, like, 50 years. All right, so the government is well aware that there was this event. We know from the archaeological record, you know, that we actually have found these woolly mammoths and the remains of the and that the saber-toothed tiger went extinct, this snub-nosed bear, which is a real monster. That was bigger than the biggest bears we've seen now. And I've seen some big bears because I told the story once before. When I grew up, some guy had a bear, taxidermy, went to a taxidermist and had this bear in the front of his insurance, like he had a glass window, an insurance office in a neighboring town. And it was it was like the biggest bear I've ever seen in the window. And it was a monster. Well, imagine something like, you know, like you can't imagine, like 20 feet or 24 feet. I mean, we're talking about a monster. You know, a genuine monster, right? I mean, big teeth, you know, big claws, giant monster who's wants to eat you, right? Well, anyway, these things existed in North America. And so the Indians aren't indigenous people because, you know, people talk about the Clovis people and things like that. But the point is the whole upper portion, half of, or more than half of what we call the U.S. and in Canada was completely buried in ice. We're talking like a mile, You know, like Manhattan, I think Central Park was under over a mile of ice. You know, people can't like deal with that stuff. And so anyway, what happened was those that didn't escape to these underground places, all right, with the help of apparently people who were living underground, and they must have been, you know, decent type of people if they were willing to, you know, in other words, they weren't to save, basic corral these people down through these caves to save them for this cataclysm. And so these people, I guess they called them ant people, the Indians, had different names for them. So I guess they had evolved, and even if you look at the Greys and stuff, from living underground for so many years that their eyes and stuff, they just were unable to live on the surface without, you know. So they continue to live down there because that's their nature. And like, if you really look at the people don't understand the concept of the cave system and the unexplored caves underneath the earth and how thick the crust really is relatively. We think of the crust, you know, when you see a picture, you know, you say crust, mantle, you know, this, that, the other. It's like we don't even have an iron core. That was like a lie. You know, the center of the earth isn't some iron core spinning ball. You know, it's a whole totally different. That's like another one of those like everything you know is wrong type of deals. But anyway, there's a lot of real estate underground that's not in areas where there isn't magma, okay? But the fact that there is magma and there is heat coming from down below and at certain areas, it's livable, okay? And plants things grow there and people can live there. Just weird. But those that weren't corralled down into some of these places and saved by these beings or whatever, right? These other inhabitants of Earth that we just don't know about. Okay. Nitrogen breathers. They moved down south of the border, and they moved down into Central America, Mexico, Central America, and South America. And that's why those cities, those ancient cities, we call them ancient, but they weren't really ancient, but they swelled with populations. And again, there are places down there, literally hundreds, if not thousands, undiscovered, you know, pyramid-type structures and cities that are just buried underneath the forest, you know. And you talk about getting into the rainforest area and some of that stuff. It's a thicket like you can't imagine. I mean, you go in there with machetes, that's not enough to break through this stuff. You know, you'd have to go with teams of people with chainsaws and stuff, right? How this stuff grows. That's why this whole idea of these people who get into, oh no, they're taking down the rainforest. It's like stuff down. I've shown those pictures. Like I say, I've had videos. We've done been live from the Amazon. They've got trees, giant trees, just like giant trees in California. I mean, stuff down there grows crazy. They got spiders as big as dogs and stuff. It's like it's scary down there. And they got creatures and flowers and weird stuff. They got plants that can eat people. People don't realize what growth is like, what the planet is like. It just, and that's what today's show is. I just want to get into just some old, weird, different stuff. Because I'm tired of the same old shit about, wars, socioeconomic geopolitics and wars. Did you see that the stock, I'm not going to talk about this more than a minute or so. The stock of a couple of the military contractors went up over 10 or 14% yesterday. I mean, that's enough said about what this war is about. Do you understand this whole thing, right? And then I was watching this Tim Pool guy just for a short second, and somebody was on there, some blonde chick I used to like because she used to do her show and show a lot of her, a lot of skin, but now she's like, covered up. But she was a serious reporter, young reporter, 20-something, 30, early 30s. But she was on there, and they were reading some article or some tweet about somebody who wrote, well, see, this is good. The New World Order is finally taking. And they were like ridiculing this whole thing, and they were ridiculing like the World Economic Forum and the Great Reset as if it's like, this is like Tim Pool. These are supposedly the hip dudes next to Joe Rogan, like the guys like in his following, in his coattails, so to speak, type of people. All right. This guy's they get 1 million views sometimes for some of their videos and stuff. I mean, they're making money. They're YouTube millionaires. All right. But they're like kind of they're big up there as far as political pundency on YouTube. And they just didn't get it. Like, they don't understand that Klaus Schwab guy is a fucking Nazi, and that the World Economic Forum and the Davos set and the Great Reset is basically Greater Germany, basically Hitler's plan for Europe. That NATO is the evil empire, all right? And, and that it's the World Economic Forum is an organized crime syndicate that controls the corporatocracy that now makes up the United States, and that's, I mean, to them that's still like fantasy, or Alex, what's his name? I don't know why I bother not mentioning it, but everybody knows who Alex is. Anyway, that's just to show us how far out, and that's as far as I need to go with that, and that's why I won't cover it. If you want to see some in-depth stuff, watch my shows. But I didn't list in those shows because I didn't know the stock of these places were going to go up. But I mentioned it. That was like part of the motivation. All right. I mean, obviously, oil's the motivation. It's the same old shit, right? Wars for oil, control of oil, and military and war profiteers. It's just war profiteers. They're like kids, man. It's like, see, I look at these people and I laugh at them. They're like simple-minded fucks. And they're just trying to gather all this stuff, and whoever ends up with the most toys or most gold or whatever at the end wins. No, you don't, man. Whoever ends up with the most gold, basically has a heart attack on a pile of fucking gold. Right? You live so long, you're going to live your life like that? Hey, congratulations. Look at you. Look at all the money you made. Look at all the stuff you got in your fucking beach house that you deprived everybody else of because you bought so much land up. And so we can't go vacation there anymore. Anyway, but out of that, I don't want to get off on that rant too long. So what I'm saying is, so all these Indians, at that time, the 10,600 years ago, whatever, 12 to 10,000 some years ago, Younger Dryas period, this last time this cycle happened, they all went down south to escape it. And whether or not they lived through it too, because it was a major upheaval on the planet, it doesn't matter. But those buildings that, cropped up later on, because a lot of those buildings down there are like, just thousands of years old. Like are 1,000 years old and stuff, some of those things. So that they were survivors, of that cataclysm. But America was pretty much cleaned out. But there were other things like this bird, for example, and maybe other things that could have survived or migrated south. You see what I'm saying? Like birds do. Hey, the weather's getting frickin' cold. I'm going to fly fucking south. Right? Get away from this stuff. Or there's some crazy shits, these winds, there's some crazy stuff going on. Right? This thing just, so these things could have came back up And so these guys were all shooting, when these remnants of these things that lived years ago, these guys were shooting them down and stuff, like thinking of it as a trophy, whatnot. It's like if you knew what was inside the Smithsonian. I used to live down in D.C. on Capitol Hill, and I could walk right down through the mall. And I used to go to Smithsonian and stuff. So I was like a local when I was down there. And I didn't have anything to do because I worked for Roy Cohn. And he never came. He only came into town once a month. Sometimes he would skip a month. And all I had to do was take him to a couple of meetings or something. You know what I mean? The guy was never around. So I'm living in this freaking townhouse with a swimming pool, the whole 9 yards. So I used to go down to places like the Smith. So I became like, a guy. I knew guys at the Smithsonian and stuff like that. Because I'd be in there every day. I mean, those play, a lot, all the museums and different things that are down that way. And I talked to these guys, and these guys would, once they got to know you after months or a year, and you became friends with them, they would talk to you about the stuff that they've got in the back rooms and the stuff they have. And when I say back rooms, I mean like Indiana Jones big rooms like that and stuff. Smithsonian, people don't understand that the story, you want to get into a story, and I'm not going to tell you that story. It's too long. I'm surprised nobody's done that. Maybe somebody's done it on YouTube. But see if anyone's ever done a story on the dark side of the Smithsonian, the story behind the Smithsonian, and that whole, like what they're, and the continuing saga and how much stuff that they've, basically, when something appears, a lot of times they're the people that go in there and grab it, right? It's just like I told you, what's NASA having what's NASA doing down at the, closing off some entrances to caves, in the Grand Canyon and making it like an Area 51 place, but like still being bold enough to put the NASA logo there, that's weird, but it's no weirder than that stupid, this crazy ass CIA sanitized copy of like, the end of the frickin' world. So it's not like this bird that I wanted to talk about. It's not about the Indian, the Clovis people, or, even the snub-nosed bear or any of that other weird shit. That's not the idea. It's this stuff in general. It's this idea you don't know what you don't know, and you choose your reality to a point, as I said it, underneath this thing. And so people, they choose what they want to believe, and they create their reality. Energy creates matter, and that's part of this whole thing. But it's not a guarantee, because this is something I didn't get into yesterday. Yesterday was an interesting show, and it was kind of more or less uplifting and positive in many ways. But then last night I was in fucking pain with on the right side. It wasn't like shooting, aching pain. I got to go to the emergency room. It was just like an annoyance enough that it was really hard to sleep and going like, what the fuck, man? But then I did eat that sugar, and I did eat, I don't know. It's whatever. I don't know. I've exercised every day for the last week. Today I'm tired of exercise. I'm tired of exercise. What I'd like to do is just sit down and just, I don't know, eat a bag of chips and dip or drink some beers and then get drunk, smoke a cigar, and then when I'm munching out, just eat a bag of chips and dip, right? And pass out. You know what I mean? Like, screw everything. Yeah. So, yeah. But see, the idea that I didn't get into, so this is the follow-up, from yesterday. The parts, the parts we didn't talk about. The parts that would have been edited out if yesterday's show was a show that was edited, but it wasn't. It was just live, free form, and none of these shows are edited. But, this idea of that, yeah, energy creates matter. That's no doubt. You can concentrate, meditate, like I was saying, pray, think, do whatever to, intention, all that kind of happy horse shit. However, all that said, you have to deal with other variables so that there's no assurance. And that's the thing that they forget to tell you. And they are, look at the coal trucks. Wow. Get that energy up there. Whoa, look at that one. To drive those electric cars. And, we're right on time for it's cold time. And it's still, hey, it's still cold weather on and off. Today 48, but tonight it gets below freezing, and then tomorrow's like freezing and 16 degrees overnight. That following day is like refrigerator temperature and then freezing overnight. Though Sunday it may rain and get up to 60. I don't know if that'll be the first 60 we had, but we'll see if that comes. Like I say, the weather guys have been they can't tell you the weather the same day. But in like the 80s, they could tell you the weather at least for today and tomorrow, and they were accurate, right? How come they can't tell you the weather this afternoon, right? They're wrong. I mean, don't they even see the radar cloud coming? That's what I look at. So I don't do it anymore. But remember, I used to do, if you watch this show last year, and a couple of times this year, I still have one up here, but it's outdated. But I'll show you. I was showing, going to, getting Noah's maps and showing weather patterns and stuff. And I was predicting better than these freaking clowns. I mean, it's pretty clear that, when you've got some pattern, like that pattern going over Florida or that stuff going over the Great Lakes there. This is from, like I said, who knows? Let's see when this was from. It'll tell down at the bottom. This was February 6th. I did it. All right. So when you see this kind of thing happening, that's not going to change on a dime. So I don't know what these weather people are about, but why are they lying to you? I mean, they're literally lying to you. Or they're not showing you the real maps, or maybe they don't know how to dig into NOAA to get the actual satellite views. Because when I used to show the satellite views, they used to be like within, they were fresh. They were right from within the past hour or so of when I went on the air. It depends on how much I dilly-dallied about before I got on the air. How timely they were. There were some times I would just wait right before I went on the air. And so the map was literally almost in real time. It was within 10 minutes of me turning on the microphone and going live. So you don't know what you don't know. We're not going to have a nuclear war. If we do, that would be insanity. And it wouldn't matter anymore. Limited nuclear war. I don't know. It's just like what's going on right now is so, it's like I sound like a broken record. Before any of this shit in Ukraine began, all right, because this is just one big, it's war profiteering, but it's also one big diversion from the fact that we never, Biden never built back better. Okay. All right. Like, do you see any? I didn't see any Build Back Better anywhere, right? So, who cares? And, people say, oh, people are dying, people are dying, people are dying. So what, man? So what? Like I said, people are dying here in this country. Way more people are dying in this country today than will die in the Ukraine, right? Think about that. And people will die from actual, gunshots, bullet wounds, weaponry on weekends and stuff in Chicago, Detroit, New York, Philly, right? LA. Doesn't get reported. Just doesn't get reported. If you take, like I'm saying, I'm sure the actual numbers are up to about 100,000 now. So if you take 100,000 divided by 52 weeks, that's, I could show, if you could see my calculator. My calculator, my solar calculator only works when it's under the light now. So the battery inside of it, I guess, the lithium. I bought this thing so many years ago, but it still works as long as the light's shining right on it. 1923. So let's just say, and like I say, statistics reported by the government are usually watered down. So about 2,000 people a week die in the United States from homicides, or die in the United States from homicide. Now, okay, so I don't know if, that's a lot of fucking people. All right, now let's take the 2 million people divided by 52. Come on, here. All right, 2 million divided by 52 equals, okay. That is 38, I would say, because I know that number is watered down. It's over 2 million people. 40,000 people a week die in the United States from things like heart disease, cancer, kidney disease, complications of diabetes, right? Pneumonia, the flu, not Chinese flu, and people commit suicide and stuff like that, and other diseases who could even name them? There's some weird names, right? They have. So 2,000 people are literally shot or knifed, or clubbed over the head, right? Or strangled every week in the U.S. on average. This is average. And 30 or 40,000 people. Let me get that again. If it was, what was it, 40? I just want to be, I don't, on these morning shows, I'm half awake. Sometimes I got to do this twice. Divided by 52 equals, 40,000 people are dying unnecessarily because they had what I did yesterday's breakfast. I had too much. I ate cereal and this various stuff that I had no idea that there were all these carbs and sugars in them. And I basically ate 100 grams of sugar and 175 grams of carbs, which is sugars, right? And so I basically was off the charts, my glucose and my insulin would have spiked. It's no wonder I had pain last night, right? I mean, if I was diabetic, I'd be dead if I didn't have And I was just eating a box of Raisin fucking Bran put a couple blueberries on top of it and a couple of other healthy things I've added to it. Weird thing, a glass of 100% juice, but it's all lies when you read the label. So you're worried about Ukraine when 40,000 people a week are dying of unnecessarily disease. In other words, diseases that are either treatable, right? Preventable, completely preventable if we didn't allow the FDA and Big Ag to get away with, false labeling, misleading labeling, and even allowing these things on the market, right, as is. Or curable, just downright curable. Watch that guy like Sinclair I talked about yesterday. I watched him again in another discussion yesterday. The guy, the longevity guy and stuff. But they're all anti-sugar and carbs and stuff too. They'll tell you outright. that stuff will kill you. It's the same thing. It's the same thing. Sugar and carbs are the same thing. They shouldn't even be separated. See, it used to be this thing. They've altered the carbs in the process. When they say processed food, they've altered these things so that the carbs actually now get more directly turn directly to sugar. See, it used to be the thing people would say, well, carbs, it's different than just eating sugar, eating a sugar cookie or a, donut with this big pile of white, frosting and sprinkles and stuff, or cream-filled donut with chocolate on top of it. Right? And carbs were different than that. But though the carbs were in the dough, the grain, the flour. But now they've altered all that stuff now, so it's almost the same frickin' thing in many cases. And cereals are like that. And then, of course, there's sugar, and everything's sugar, I'm not going to get into that. I got into that kick yesterday. I think I covered it pretty well. But the point of the matter is, think about that. The next time somebody brings up this war and says, oh, my God, I'm against war. I'm anti-war. I don't want to see anybody get killed in war. But the point is, physician, heal thyself. Here we are. I don't want to see some speech, State of the Union speech, which I didn't watch, by the way, and I won't watch. But I don't want to see some guy, some dementia Joe president and some weirdos, or I don't care what side of the aisle, blue team, red team, whatever you're on, talking about this crap, when the fact of the matter is 2 million people are getting shot, stabbed, strangled, hit with the crowbar, hammer, axe, bat, baseball bat, dying every week. 2,000 people in the U.S., on average. That's like war zone shit. But that's nothing compared to the 40,000 that are dying unnecessarily, for most of them. There's no reason for you to die of a heart attack. There's diet, there's pills, there's treatments, right? Half these cancers, right? There's all sorts of stuff they could do to prevent it, right? But things like kidney disease, nobody ever tells you about oxalates, things that cause kidney stones if you're prone to kidney stones. I didn't learn about it till I was in a hospital bed, having a procedure. It didn't work, and they had to do it 2 or 3 times. Then after the third one, they had some biopsy of something because they had trouble getting in, and they had to remove some kind, sear through something, cauterize it. And anytime they take anything out of the body, however microscopic it is, they have to send it to the lab. And then they sent it to the lab. They found out it was cancerous, and I'm thinking it's all over, and I'm sitting there. Finally, you're going to take this frickin', because they had this stent in one of the we'll just call it one of the tubes coming down from my kidney, right? Because they went up in there 2 ways, so they had some stent to widen that thing out, and so I had to have that removed. That was the last stage. I go in to have that removed in the office, which was right? Okay, you can put your clothes back on. We'll be right back. And I'm sitting there. Doctor comes back in and hands me a piece of white paper. I'm like, what the fuck's this? It's got something about some Gleason thing on it. Like Jackie Gleason. Some kind of score and something. It's like I had the highest score. It was like cancer of this thing they biopsied. Yeah, I'm laughing about it, right? It's it's nuts. What about those guys if I could find them? You guys still here? I haven't heard from you in a while.
Really funny. Really funny.
Yeah, it was really funny. Imagine that. And I'm walking on with a piece of paper. Now what? well, we're going to have a radical prostatectomy, man. It's either that or you could go play that game where they, just dose you with radiation for 30 days in a row and stuff like that. And that may or may not work. And, that's the beginning of the end. You want to stay away from that kind of stuff. Well, anyway, that was a couple of years ago. So knock on wood, I'm all right as of right now of that. But now I get this other fucking problem. So what I'm saying is 40,000 people are dying unnecessarily of all these things. Right? Wouldn't you think we should be focusing on like saving 40,000 people a week? Okay? That's a week. Those 2,000 murders are a week on average. A week. Every week. And it's nonstop Ukraine news, and they're showing movie clips and stuff. Oh, man. And Alex Jones got kicked off frickin' YouTube. Oh, boy. So, I'm drinking black coffee today, too. Man, I'm tired of taking care of myself. I'm just tired of it. I mean, right now, I feel okay. I have these moments in the day I feel okay. Some days it's the whole day and all night. Some nights I've slept like a baby. Well, yeah, probably like a baby. I still wake up a couple times in the middle of the night, but I think babies do too. But, yeah, so, you don't know what you don't know. Everything you know is wrong. Turn off the fucking media. It's game over either way you look at it. Just take care of yourself. That's about it. Okay, that's the ground. Now I've laid the groundwork for the show. Now let's see where we go from here, because, after all, the show.
Quality, quantity, and variety.
ROCKFLUX.
Let's get this show on the road.
In case you weren't here and you haven't seen yesterday's show, where's that feature? Oh. Extra. What's extra? Oh, I don't even have it here. Forget it. I was going to show my backyard. I was going to go out yesterday, but I wasn't feeling right yesterday afternoon, so I kind of knew something. I think having that like ridiculous breakfast, it was literally just a bowl of cereal. And then for lunch I had like a salad, which was like, nutrient rich, like out the ass, nutrient rich. A salad like no other. I should have taken a picture of it. I mean, the ingredients that were in it were about as healthy. Probably in 6 months, most people don't get what I got from that. So that didn't cause the problems. It was that residue from having that ridiculous amount of like sugar in the morning. So now I got this stuff. I guess I'll either, throw it away or give it away if somebody wants it. But I probably should just dump that juice down the sink because I wouldn't wish that on someone. I mean, could you imagine that? The amount of that. I mean, I could, what was this daily photo again? We'll keep that there because this rain thing isn't over. Okay, let's get rid of the CIA thing. Yeah, the end of the world's coming. Let's accept it, deal with it. Big whoop, as they used to say. I used to hate when people used to say stuff like that. This is some of the wood just for the sake of it. Wow, look how big that is. This is some of the wood I cut down when I trim the trees. You see, I'll use these bigger things. I'll cut those into, like I say, 4 to 6 inch little pieces and put them in the grill and fire pits when the shit hits the fan, and then this would be like all kindling and stuff. I'm going to let all this wood. I have tons of wood that I got from grapevines and trees, just trimming them down. That was one of my jobs I did the other day. But what I'm looking for is it wasn't that. My mind is drawing a blank now. What the hell was I looking for? It wasn't the attic. It's not in additions. It was one other thing I was trying to think of. I know I look like an idiot trying to find this thing. What was I fucking talking about? It's got to be still in here because I wouldn't have taken it out. It had to do with the carbs. Let's see. I must have put it in my archive. Apple computer search, I say this all the time, is the slowest thing in the world. It's saying loading. In the year 2022. Yeah, let's just bring this up. This was yesterday's title card, the Carb Diary. So let me get rid of my title card and go to... Where is it? Oh, browse. What the... feature. So somehow, did I accidentally put it in the wrong place? I didn't replace Marionette. I didn't replace Daily Photo. Feature is showing nothing. Okay, so feature, properties. There it is. Okay. Where is it? Anybody see it? Is this it? No. I have no idea what happened to it. I better turn it off. Well, back to this. I just wanted to show you that juice thing. It was ridiculous. The things that happen. I had a copy of it somewhere, but I got rid of it. But they have this thing, and so while we're talking about this, why not? Because this is part of the whole thing. Because 40,000 people is a hell of a lot of people to be dying on a weekly basis in a country that seems when the media is all concerned with war. I put glycemic war. I meant glycemic index. Yeah, I'm really in good shape. Glycemic index. Okay. Here we go. See if we can get a decent sized picture of the fucking thing. That's visible for you folks. That's somebody's Facebook page. I don't want to see that. This is 1500. Glycemic index. Now, let's put this. I know this looks really weird. That's the matrix, my friend. I'm going to call this glycemic. Glycemic index. All right, I'm going to throw it in here, and then we're going to take a quick look at it. What am I? Google. Okay, let's get back to normal. Look at that. Look at perfection. Look at infinity. So, we may not be living in a simulation, the matrix or whatever. Do you see how it just keeps going further if you look towards the left? Right? That's like a glitch in the fucking Matrix, man. Right? It's really weird. You know? It's really freaking weird. Now let's see if the problem here was the word feature or just something else, or just some anomaly. We want to see if we can get the glycemic index up at least. And I don't see it. Like, where would it be? Come on. Let me take me off the screen for a second. There goes the truck. All right, so I'm going to get rid of feet. Let me just get rid of this freaking thing. Delete. Hey, this is live, a live show, you know. Glycemic. Well, no, we're going to call this featured image. I'll just try to replace it once again and see if I can't do it, you know. It's a JPEG file. It shows when there we go. Okay. So here's the glycemic index. All right. So what they're telling you, and this isn't a nutritious show, but this is important. I just wanted to deal with this because to show you the absurdity of shit. Okay. So, you know, all of these numbers, obviously white bread is the worst thing in the world for you, and a bagel, well, next to a bagel. And things like dates, you know, I used to eat those because they're supposedly, you know, these things are like so-called things that are healthy for you, you know, have high glycemic index, right? You know, they tell you like, even like one thing I read, like black-eyed beans and stuff were good for you. I mean, I'm telling you, man. And, you know, some of this stuff is just a lie, too. Because, you know, when they process a food like a bran cereal and, you know, and stuff like that, you know, like oatmeal's 87. I was like eating oatmeal every fucking day, like as if that was healthy. And I was eating whole grain oats. Right? In other words, it wasn't messed with. It was like the raw stuff. 87, man. That was like almost like, that's getting close to white bread. You know, baked potato, 85. Watermelon, 72. Ice cream, 61. Forget about that, you know. So what they're saying is low is anything below 55. And if you look at this chart, so it's like, yeah, in the vegetable aisle, asparagus, I've been eating that this week. Broccoli, that salad I had asparagus, broccoli. I don't put celery in, but I put cucumber. Instead of lettuce, I put darker greens, so I put more things like kale and that kind of thing. I did put a red pepper, and there was some spinach in there. I had some tomatoes. They're supposedly bad for you because they're high in sugar. And there's something about the thing. Chickpeas are supposedly healthy, but look they jump up to 33 already. Peas, sweet corn, well, I could live without that. But, you know, in the fruit department, they don't even have, plums are prunes, I think, right? Isn't a plum a dried prune? 24. But I don't care. I take those because that's for my microbiome. But you can see in dairy, you have a low-fat yogurt's low and plain yogurt is low. But what they forget to say is low-fat yogurt, in order to make it, it's the fat that gives flavor to everything. So what they do is they substitute the fat with sugar. So it's low fat, but it's high in sugar. Right? And then there's one guy saying all beans are bad because there's something called lectins in it that eat through the gut lining. I just wanted to show you that. I mean, I just pulled that out of my proverbial ass. So that needs further study. I've got to look into that a little bit more. But, I'm tired of it. Aren't you tired of hearing me talk about it? It's like, this is what I'm saying. Instead of talking about news media 24/7, war, or Russia, Trump, commercials, right? Because that's what it's really all about. Donate. I had like 30 spams and 30 regular emails, and they were all like asking for like campaign donations from like both political parties. Figure that out. And so it might have been they might as well just have them come from like ABC, NBC, or Fox or whomever, because all that money goes right to those announcers' salaries, right? Keeps those stations on the air. So I don't know, man. It's really weird. Things are so fucked up that it's beyond beyond fucked up. It's fucked up. It's like people have got to start saying fuck more.
Hey, it's me. How you doing, man?
I'm fucked up, man. I'm fucked up because everything's fucked up. It's like, it's a fucked up, life is beautiful. I'm starting to clean up my yard, and it's starting to look good, the parts I cleaned up. I mean, it's a Herculean task. I got a long way to go, so I hope I could stay healthy and live, not have an operation where I'm down for the count, for like 2 months, which would be the season to prepare the garden right now. We're in March now. This is like, I got to be out there every week starting, it's cleanup. My yard's so fucking dirty. All right. And I will show you that. It's so messed up. I had that up yesterday. Yeah. Of course, I think in this picture, I cleaned it up. Yeah, you can't see how fucked up it is. This is the tree I had to cut down because the neighbor next door, it went over the fence, and she was like, she's afraid of shit. My grapevines. I'm going to clean them up from the window area, all that stuff I have to clean up, but that's a minor job. But what you can't see is like further down the pike here where some of my raised beds are. They're all just filled with cardboard and shit. In other words, when you look at this, all of the area from the garage forward. See, the other view was the view. That tree that I said I cut down is the tree on the right. So all those raised beds where all those things grow, they're all filled with like cardboard and crap and shit. And it's like, I've got to and I have to get dirt and all kinds of things. And I got 2 months of work to get that garden in shape. So I obviously can't, I can't, if I go down for the count with this thing, you can't lift anything. You can't do anything. You're basically almost chained to a toilet, too. That's another thing. I don't want to gross you out. But it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. I just can't do it, man. Subtract fiber from carbs for the sugar content. That's what this one guy was saying. You know, like, so you get these things and it's like a high fiber diet. And what I was looking at is I was mainly looking at 0 fat, 0 sugars, and high fiber. And I was kind of ignoring the carb aspect. I didn't really care too much about that, unless it was like out the roof. But now they're saying, oh, the carbs, man, it's just... So what am I supposed to do? Anyway, that bird is probably real. Like everything else, you don't know what you don't know. Let's just look at the fucking telephone. My yard. Yeah, so I started trimming these trees and stuff, and I trimmed my apple trees, and the next one is going to be trimming that grapevine and those 2 pergolas that you can see, those wooden things, one on the left and one on the right. I'm basically going to trim all that excess crap off, and I'm going to chop all that wood up, and I'm just going to pile it up, let it dry, you know, organize it neatly so it doesn't take up an ungodly amount of space, and probably store it so it doesn't become a nest, but somehow store it on the side of my garage outside, which I'll show you where. You see where that blue thing, that's a rainwater catchment. There's space there behind that. And so what I'll do is I'll probably build some kind of thing, put a couple like paver type of things down, concrete, so it's like the ground, you know, it's solid ground, and then still raise it up on like a couple of, you know, like a sawed crate that's only about a foot or so wide. You know, like, because I think I have 2 crates. I got to clean my garage. I have a couple crates in there that I had stuff delivered on. My garage is a freaking mess. It would take me like a month to clean that place out too, but I'd need a dumpster. But, you know, just so it's like concrete over the ground, so nothing's like boring its way up. The garage is against the garage, so the garage is made of stone, you know, cinder block stone and stuff. So nothing's coming from the back or the below, and then still raise it up onto a crate type of thing. And then just stack the stuff in there like people stack a lumber pile. It's just like, unlike logs for a log, you know, people have for fireplaces and stuff, these will be thinner, right? And just let it sit there because the garage has a little bit of a lip that comes out, you know, and I may extend that to like what they call a lean-to or something, you know, just maybe extend it out like 3 feet with anything, you know. And just let that wood dry out. And when the shit hits the fan, I've got my grill and I've got my fire pit. And like I keep trying to tell people, you know, you can cook with a pot and a pan on a grill. You don't have to cook a bare steak or a hot dog or a hamburger. Like, people just never think about that. So other people be like, oh no, I can't cook. I can't do anything. And I'm like, hey, I got enough wood here, you know, and if need be, see, I would, you know, because I might even pick up one of these tent wood burning stoves. Now, I'm not giving advice to anybody to do this, anything fire hazard. You do only what, you know, check with your codes in your area and all that kind of stuff, inspections, blah, blah, blah. But I have seen a guy in Canada, I watch his show, and what he's done is there is one that is pretty neat. You have to buy some extra, you know, chimney type of, you know, some, you know, ductwork chimney thing, double paneled, you know, whatever. And it's a small thing, but it's not one of the mini ones because they have these mini wood stoves. But because they're mini and they're made this way, you know, they're like expensive. But no, this is something that campers use, and the basic thing you could buy for like $100-some. And I want to put one of those in my garage because this particular one this guy did, he did put into, like, he built this like little mini log cabin type of place. And in fact, his roof was canvas or was some kind of material, and he slept in it overnight. And the idea is that this thing actually has the right ventilation, so you're not going to like die, you know. And besides, my garage is not airtight anyway. But I was thinking about getting one of those, and that stuff I showed you, which I guess I don't know if I still even have it here. You know, because did I get rid of it? Yeah. This is, you know, if you have this is like 2 to 3 days worth of work, and it looks like there's like 4 little bins. If you could imagine the work that went in be underneath that and against the wall. And I don't even think it's going to hold, but I hope it does. But, you know, you have to worry about when. See, we don't so much, you know, we got another month or two of cold weather, right? But like I say, it looks like next week we're going to, here in the mid-Atlantic states, we're going to hit a 60. So, you know, you're going to get the freezing overnight and stuff like that, but it's almost survivable. But my thing is that assuming I could get over my health issues, which is questionable, right? But I'm endeavoring to persevere. Then the next step is to get things into position before next winter, because the shit's going to hit the fan after the 2022 elections. See, they're going to keep this country propped up. They're using this war as a diversion now. This ridiculous NATO shit. What is their frickin' problem? All right? Russia wants the frickin' oil pipeline. They want access to fucking a water, you know, a place for their Navy to get around, and they want self-defense. They don't want to destroy and take over the world. All right? You know, this could have been solved by brave, strong men in hard diplomatic negotiations that the average person wouldn't like, but they would have been dealt with, it would have been over, and the next thing would have come up into the news cycle. All right? So every person that dies over there is dying because the news media wants to sell ads, the military-industrial complex wants to sell frickin' weapons, and the Biden administration wants to divert you away from the fact that he's been in office over a frickin' year and he hasn't built back better, and we have runaway inflation, right? 40,000 people dying unnecessarily every week, 2,000 people being murdered every frickin' week, a couple million people coming in the border. Hey, come on in. Hey, they know where you are. They know where you are, man. This ain't going to be a free ride forever. You might get away with it for a year or two, but once they get you, they want the bodies. They're going to find a way, find you, and tax you. Okay? See, what you don't understand is, no, they're not going to kick you out. No, they just see you as that, as a frickin' cow, as cattle. Because the population is diminishing around the world right now. People don't realize that. That's like global warming. They had to change it to climate change because in reality, the planet's cooling. And so the same with the other one was population explosion. It's like now they're talking about, oh no, the population's going to peak a little bit over 8 billion and then it's going to drop off a cliff. And so now they're trying to, like, you know, get people to have kids and stuff. So that's why they're letting anybody into the U.S. They want bodies. Because a country without bodies, you know, you got to have cattle, right? If you don't have cattle, you don't have somebody to tax. You don't have consumers. It's a consumer-based society, you know. You don't have people to do anything. Oh, AI is going to take care of that. Robotics. Not really. Forget about that. And so, you know, I'm starting to get a little slight pain on the right side again. I don't know why. So apparently that I had an avocado for breakfast. which is high fat, which really causes the gallbladder to release. So it is the gallbladder. But, avocado is healthy fat, right? And I had some olive oil with it and rosemary, which helps, and some ginger on. There are things that create bile, I found. That took me, it was really hard. I mean, bile salts, ox bile, and that stuff is the best. I understand that. But there are also, what a lot of people don't know, there are natural things that create bile. Dark chocolate, like cacao, rosemary, brine, like sauerkraut and brine is good for the microbiome. And, ginger. I had the list here, but I got rid of it because it's in the other room near my food. I'm not going to get into it. This is that kind of show today. So anyway, now it went away. See, I'm trying to push myself to keep this thing pumping. You have to use it. A thing unused, atrophies or whatever. And I'm hoping that in combination with these things, these stone breakers, that I'm using, Chanca piedra, right? Dandelion root and hydrangea and milk thistle and these other things that are creating bile, that, in other words, I will force out, like I say, I looked at my CT scan. And it wasn't like I had a golf ball in there, And it seems to me that the stuff that's in there, it wasn't like sand or just sludge. Some people just have sand and sludge. They're lucky. That just works their way through. But no, I had actual stones. But, it took me seeing a South American doctor, watching a video, or was she, and then I watched another one from an Indian, like an India from India, who was explaining that actually they're not stones per se. They're actually a little spongy. They're not hard like rock, she was saying. Parts of these things. There's two different kinds of stones. There's cholesterol stones, and then there's bilirubin stones, right, that are formed from that. But the idea is that they can work their way through if you're lucky and if they're not too big. So anyway, that's a game. That's just on my mind. I keep talking about this stuff. Time is a wasting. So anyway, these are the realities of life, in the 21st century. So you're watching my show. It's my vlog. I mean, this is the stuff that's on my mind, but it's current events. So there's ridiculousness going on in Europe. It's all some kind of NATO power play, right? NATO and basically the World Economic Forum doesn't want Russia to exist because they want to have a one world government. You see? Now, they don't care so much about China because there's some kind of deal that they've inked with China. And I don't know what that dirty deal is. But maybe China's going along with it because, that's that whole communist kind of thing that maybe China's on board with the whole one world government idea. You see? Because China's thinking, well, that's fine. If you guys are all, if Western civilization all just becomes one thing and we rebuild this Silk Road, right? The Belt Road, whatever it is. You'll do trade with us and, blah, blah, blah. But they don't want Russia in there as an independent nation. But Russia's falling apart, man. Their population is diminishing. All they have is oil. They have a lot of gold, though. They have more gold than anybody. Now, gold is still considered a commodity with a lot of people. The price of gold's around close to $2,000 an ounce or something right now. $2,000 an ounce. And the price of oil's way up, right? It's over 100. High 90s and over 100, depending on which type of oil, like crude, like Brent, what they call it, Brent crude or something or whatever it is. Doesn't matter. Get into jargon specifics. I don't care. I'm not in the oil industry. But I keep abreast of this shit. So the price of gold has shot up because of the war, and the price of oil shot up because of the war, and Russia's sitting on a lot of oil, and Russia's sitting on a lot of gold. More gold than most. Like they have more gold than they have in bank deposits. So they're fucking with the Russians' banks, but the Russians have more gold than they have in bank deposits, and they've got all this oil that's now worth twice the price. Like when Trump was in office, the price of oil, barrel of oil was down in like 50. So the price of oil's doubled, right? So that's how Russia's, able to fund this war and keep things going and stay afloat. But they're going to have to move some things around and play some games and do some trading. But they're going to be and they're talking about maybe they're just going to switch to Bitcoin, right? Checking my coffee. So until the shit hits the fan, like, the next extinction event or a grid down situation over here in the U.S., either way, Russia's going to survive through this thing. There's not going to be a nuclear war. That would be insane. And if it happens, well, boom, it's end of. Even a limited nuclear war, the toxicity of, of taking, I said this the other day, if there was a limited nuclear war in the South China Sea because of Taiwan, because China's going to make a move on Taiwan sooner or later. And if there was a limited nuclear war in Ukraine area, right, that the fact of the matter is that one of the reasons why why we have so many instances of cancer in the past, 50, 60 years and so many other problems, and our life expectancies dropped by a couple of years, all right, is because of the nuclear tests and stuff that were done. And all, they don't talk about any of that stuff. And then there was that, nuclear, we had a couple of nuclear disasters that were downplayed, right? And I know, Trey, if you're listening to this, you're pro-nuclear. I'm pro-nuclear energy, but I'm talking about nuclear war. I'm talking about releasing this shit in the atmosphere, releasing it on the ground, releasing it, in places where it spreads, kills fish, gets into the fish, gets into food supplies, gets into shit like that, But anyway, so Southeast Asia and Europe, they would be, by a limited nuclear war, they would be hit the worst. If there was a major nuclear war, well, it's game over, basically, game over. But what the U.S. needs to worry about is the following. And I'm going to stress this again, is I don't care if the sun decides to, go through this cycle and explodes and we're screwed, or even if we have a minor CME that takes out the grid, it's game over. If the grid just naturally, goes down, which it's going to start failing here and there and everywhere over the next couple of years, right? Remember, I told you before, the windmills are already like starting to reach their their point of where they're useless. And solar panels, the same thing. In other words, this stuff's been in place too long, and there's no chain of custody, so nobody's repairing them and fixing them. Our infrastructure's falling apart. That was the whole Build Back Better thing that Biden promised, right? But he hasn't build back a single thing. Right? He's not going to. There's no will to do it, right? He's more worried about putting in some black woman in the Supreme Court, right? Like as if color matters. Just put a judge in. Okay, she's black. Great. Fine. Dandy. Okay, one-day story. Next, move on. How about Build Back Better? Great. Congratulations. Right? You know what I mean? So we're on the verge of the U.S. is already dystopia. Many parts of America are obviously, people are living in dystopia. And it's a Mad Max type of world. Now you say, you're full of shit. No, I'm not. I just told you 2,000 people a week on average are being murdered. All right? Well, we just need tougher gun laws. No, the gang members are stabbing those people. You know what I mean? People are being stabbed, strangled, and bashed over the head with stuff. All right? Yeah, there's a lot of shooting going on, but you're not going to get their guns. The mayor of Chicago, the mayor of Detroit, the mayor of D.C., do you think, the mayor of L.A., you think they're going to go into South Central L.A.? I lived out there. They're called no-go zones in those cities where the gangs own those areas. And they're gangs that people don't even talk about. They're afraid to mention their names. There's some names like Trump used to mention, MS-13, right? But he wouldn't mention some of the other gangs. Gangs. There's like some of them they don't even mention because just the mention of their name could mean that there's retribution. I'm not going to mention them either. And they've got chapters or people everywhere. And they're running the hard drug trade. And you may encounter lower mid-level like pushers, drug dealers and stuff like that. But the kingpins, the people running it, it's not the mafia type of thing. No, that's done. It's these gangs, So that's Mad Max world. Those people, that they don't give a shit about human life. And like I said, it's coming to a neighborhood near you. So, power goes down. You've got all these gangs. You've got all these people who are unhealthy. You've got the smash and grabbers. Then you got a bunch of worthless people who don't have any skills whatsoever. And you think there's a future to this country. And meanwhile, people are worried and glued to the TV, watching war on TV. Hey, look, it's like a war movie. All day long, I could sit on the sofa. And I could buy the products advertised on TV. Or I'm against this, so I'm going to vote for so-and-so. Hey, get me my credit card. I got to donate to somebody's campaign. And the coal trucks keep going up. And while they limit our oil supplies, so by next winter, that's what I'm trying to tell you. They're going to keep things afloat. It's difficult for a lot of people already. But, with runaway inflation, high fuel bills, and stuff like that. But that's coming to an end. Spring's just around the corner. Spring starts this month, basically, 3 weeks from now, technically. But, so we'll get through like that. There are people being overpaid who are going to have to learn to live on a budget, right? There's people making 10 times what I make, and I manage to live and do a daily vlog and, and have this, eat and all that stuff. So people are making 10 times what I make. So they're just going to have to deal with the inflation, and they're going to have to start learning to do without or be creative, use their, creative ideas. And they'll do that, but it's going to keep getting worse because creative ideas aren't enough once the house of cards starts falling. Because when the house of cards starts falling, then it's Mad Max time, right? Then it's like every dystopian movie you've ever seen realized. And what are these like wimpy people going to do? And what good is a 3-car garage house in a cul-de-sac, right? When a gang of people, like in Mad Max types, but maybe not as, theatrical, but when they cruise in and basically smash down your front door and come in, rape your daughter, I am sorry to be graphic, and steal whatever food you've got in there, and then just kill you, shoot you, walk away, and forget that they ever even came to your house or have any memory of you or whatever they did. See, people watch these movies. It's like the same I used to say about the DC thrillers. They watch these things and then they watch TV and they see politics and they see these wars and the socioeconomic geopolitics globally. And they think, oh, well, that's like, that's not, that movie isn't real. And then these things play out on the world stage. And then it's like, I don't know what they do. Where they go, duh, right? They have some disconnect. What's playing out on the world stage right now, you've seen in dozens, if not 100 movies. All right. And anybody who's watched a sci-fi dystopian type of movie or even a zombie flick, right? Because, that's these people on the streets. They may not be trying to eat your brains or eat you, but it's the next worst thing, or best thing in their minds. They want what you have, and they don't know how to work for it, and they never worked for it, and they're just going to take it. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. And the elite think they're going to, stay, safe in their gated communities and stuff like that. Let people be climbing over the gates. Like I always say, people think, oh, the cops and the National Guard are going to protect us. Okay, I want to tell you something. Yeah, put this through your thick skull. There's a lot of cops out there, all right, who have girlfriends, wives, and kids. There's a lot of people working for the National Guard and the Army who have wives, kids, or mothers, grandmothers, or relatives, brothers, sisters, whatever. Okay. Now, when the shit hits the fan, they're going to go, who are they going to protect? All right? Do you think they're going to go and protect, some high-rise apartment or some gated community or some weird place where some politician or some bureaucrat lives or some elitist, right, lives, billionaire? Or you think they're going to go protect their relatives? Their blood. The majority are just going to do that. Because remember, we're talking shit hit the fan time. There's no being court-martials. There's no being you see what I mean? At this point, it's all out. It's over. Right? People are going, screw this. I'm going home. Protect my wife. Right? Screw this. I'm going back to, I'm going back to my, my mother needs help or my such and such needs help. I'm not going to protect, some billionaire in New York high rise, Central Park East or West, whatever, or some people in Malibu beach houses. I'm not going there. To heck with those people. There'll be some that will do that. But the point is, I don't know why they would, because money won't matter at that point either. You see? What are you going to offer somebody to risk their life for these people? Like what? It would be like being private security or something where they said, okay. It's like people who work for these drug pin type of people down in, down south of the border. They're working for them because if they're not, they're basically out on the streets and they have to live in fear. But if you're working for, you're working for the guy, you at least know you and your family are good until the guy, if he's a psycho, snaps on you, look at my little friend, if you got one of those guys, yeah, you work for a wacko, then you're better off to just get the fuck out of Dodge. Which is why so many people come over the border. They're not just coming over for food. They're not coming over for this. They're trying to escape like a lot of that crap. I don't blame them for trying to do it, but the U.S. if the U.S. didn't want them here, all right? they could easily have solved the problem. All you have to do is watch a couple of those Harrison Ford movies from back in, I think, the 80s or the 90s, is that you just take out, they know where those drug pins are. Did you see that Ozark that's on Netflix, the most recent one? I hate to be a spoiler. But, well, I'm not going to spoil it for you. But that one gets into it and explains it very much. And I'm sure there's people that watch that. Like, watch that thing and watch the part where what the FBI said to those drug people. I'm not giving away. This isn't a spoiler alert. I'm just covering these are broad strokes. I'm sure people watch those meetings with the drug lords and the FBI, and they're watching this drama, and they're thinking, oh, well, that wouldn't happen in real life, or whatever. And what I'm trying to tell you is the same thing as I was trying to tell you about what goes on in D.C. and what's going on over in Ukraine and stuff, and the World Economic Forum and stuff. Yeah, you're right. That wouldn't happen in real life like that. It would be 10 times worse in real life, you idiot. The world is run by insane people for insane reasons. That's what John Lennon said. Remember that? I was looking for my thing. Where the heck is it? I lost it. It doesn't matter. Here it is.
This is insane.
Too late on the trigger finger. So, yeah. Get ready. This summer, have the summer of your life. That's right. We're going to be bringing you the full coverage all summer long. This summer of your life. This is the last summer in America, folks. Oh, and by the way, I'm coming to you broadcasting from, the secret broadcast headquarters. Because you know what? I think I told you folks this before, out there in radio land, TV land, wherever you can hear or see, hear the sound of my voice. I'm going to switch over to broadcast mode over the air when the shit hits the fan. Because the FCC is not going to give a shit. Because there isn't going to be an FCC. Do you think people are going to go to work in the IRS building when their neighborhoods are being fucking, smashed? It's going to be all out hell within the next 18 months. You mark my words, people don't get it. This country is over. This is a former United States. They're holding this thing together with like a piece of thread. I'm serious. Like a piece of thread is keeping this country together. People have no idea. High tension wires. The grid is like falling apart. The sewer systems are falling apart. The gas lines are falling apart. 330 million people over thousands and thousands of miles north, south, east, and west. There is no way in hell to repair it. It's all failing at the same time. I forget how many thousands of bridges. I'm not even going to look it up. I think it's like 12,000 bridges. You can't, how are you going to fix it? We don't have the frickin' crews. We don't have anything. And people are sitting around sending me chats, some kind of spam chats that lead to probably porn sites or something like that. I just had to delete one. And YouTube doesn't give a shit about that, but they'll give me a copyright strike for playing my own song. Or I played a cover song for this Unify movement, which was really cool. People trying to do it. There's people out there trying to do it, talking peace, love, hey, get together, figure it out, look at life. Speaking of Trey, we put up that picture of his sunrise the other day, kept it up. It's like there's beauty in nature, there's beauty in life, there's beautiful people, there's all that stuff. And you got to find that and somehow find community and get around it. I wish there were more people like that around here. there's one or two people I kind of semi-aware of. I have a website. I have an Instagram account, but I also have a I'm trying to fix my microphone. Sorry. I have used handkerchief to to keep it, to open it. But I also have like a website for the area that I'm in that I don't really push. It's like a Twitter type of thing. But I mean, I've never used it as a political type of thing except criticize whatever. But some people are on that. And I'm going to try to see if I could put together some people, community, just to have some, associates, as the shit hits the fan. But like I said, I think we have... this broadcast will go live over the air when the shit hits the fan, for as long. I'll keep broadcasting, periodically as long as I can. I got some, if those repeater stations can work, I'll be on short wave. Regionally, I'll be on AM, right? And in some areas, I might be on, VHS. I might be on TV, but you'd need what a lot of people don't realize is you can still pick up old TV if you wanted to on some bands. I'll get into that if it starts looking like it's happening. Don't worry, because it's not going to happen tomorrow. All right, they're going to prop this thing up, through the elections, through the end of the year. Because this is important to them. It's their these people are like so drunk on power, money and power, that this is the whole world to them. And the Save America people actually, they're true believers. I'm sorry. But you can't save it. It's too fucking late. The infrastructure is what's our downfall. The crime is our downfall. See, in other words, what I'm trying to get at is that what are you going to do if you become an authoritarian state and you go after all the major cities with troops and stuff marching down, trying to like uproot these millions of gang members and all these kinds of people? Well, aren't you doing the same thing as what's happening over in Europe or worse? Do you see what I mean? You're just creating your own stormtroopers. See, there is no way out of this, like, normally politically. There just isn't. And then at the same time, like I say, our infrastructure is completely crumbling. And it would take decades and decades and decades, right? But the problem is, if you talk to somebody who works for one of these Department of Transportation type of places, or people who work these contractors, and I've talked to them because they've been working on our street for the past couple of years, and they've been failing. 3 times they've dug up the sewer pipes. I said this once before. I talked to the guy from the gas company because there was like a smell of gas nearby. And the gas company was the guy. I talked to him, right? Because they're anxious to talk to people because they're, because they know this shit and they want to talk to people about it. And he said, everywhere these guys have dug, they've somehow messed with our gas lines and they don't know how to rebury the pipes. And so the trucks are shaking the stuff and loosening these old gas lines up. It's like, it's like whack-a-mole, right? That's one street. How many streets are there in the United States? Think about that. You couldn't even count them. How many streets? How many miles of pipelines, high tension wires, grid lines, gas lines, right? It's incomprehensible. Like I said, even bridges and stuff. And we've neglected them because of greed politics. See, greed capitalism, not free market capitalism. Right? Because of this greed thing, which is mainly run by the left because they're just power-hungry crazies. But the people on the right think they could fix it by just, going the libertarian route and freedom and getting the First Amendment back and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you needed to do that a long time ago, man. You kind of missed out on that. When, at the beginning of the 21st century, when they were lying about weapons of mass destruction, that's when you should have done it. Maybe 20 years ago, if you had a 20-year start on this, maybe you could have started to like save things. But probably you needed to start in the 90s. It's too late. It's just too fucking late. So there'll be pockets of places where people will be, survive. I'm hoping to survive, for as long as I can. But, life is short for everybody, It's like we have limited lifespans. So if you're over a certain age, it's like you might make it through. Hopefully, they won't make it to your place before it's time for you to go to the next, transcend to the next level. But these realities, the only reason I do this, and it's a downer for a lot of people, but the thing about it is I'm just trying, it's just a wake up call. It's the idea of see things in perspective. So we could talk about truth and beauty. We could talk about, the idea of all kinds of, energy creates matter. We could talk mind over matter and all that kind of stuff. And the things you can do. We talk about health and staying healthy. We talk about growing your own, foods and eating the right stuff. And I will continue to talk about that stuff. But let's not forget that behind all that, the backdrop is that there is no hope for this civilization. All right? Western civilization has fallen. It just hasn't maybe reached you yet as an individual. And that does not mean that you're still not going to see a beautiful starry night, sunrise, sunset, or rolling hills, or river, creek, waterfalls, and all those beautiful things there are in nature. Or the beauty of another person's, and making love and all of that stuff. Okay? And just the pleasure of conversation and all the other cool things there are. All right? Yeah, all that stuff is real. That's true, So that's there, and, that's what you have to focus on and live out your life, and so that you can have a happy life and be that way. I'm not trying to be negative. I'm just saying don't be naive. And if you want to extend that and you want to have that for as long as possible, you got to keep an eye open, and you got to make sure you're in a place or that you're aware that the shit's going to hit the fan no matter what. It was like, there's a dozen different ways it's going to happen. Then there's no ways it's not going to happen. Put it that way. Okay? Everything points to the house of cards falling. Mostly everything points to the house of cards falling within the next 18 months or less. All right? Perhaps a year. This time next year, I think we'll be up shit creek. Right? The election will be over. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. Right? Whatever goes on. You're not going to change. You can't change what already happened. You'll be your third year into the Great Reset. Remember, the Great Reset started in 2020. I mean, it started even way before that. Everything was positioned in place, right? It's like what Russia did with, Ukraine. They positioned themselves around the borders before they attacked. This had been going on for a long time. That's why I'm saying this whole thing could have been prevented diplomatically if they wanted to. They didn't want to. This was intentional, okay? Somebody in the U.S., somebody in NATO, somebody somewhere, somebody in the globalist movement basically gave Putin the okay. I know that's a controversial thing to say. Yeah, they gave him the okay. He got the okay. They said, go for it. Yeah, just do it. They don't care. Because remember, you are just this. You're just cattle to the ruling elite. And soldiers are just pawns, right? In their chess game. Or checkers, right? Or like in China, Chinese checkers. It's like that game Go. Isn't Go actually Chinese checkers? I think. And they think, oh, computers are going to do that. Yeah, forget about computers. Oh, and by the way, when the grid goes down, guess what happens? All you people that haven't gone to my great solar stuff site or gone to ROCKFLUX and, and gotten your power things and all that stuff, what are you going to do, man? You're not even going to be able to listen to music or have a little light on or anything. You need to go there and get that stuff, all right?
Good morning.
All right. It's been 2 hours. Take care. I'll talk to you tomorrow. I know this was a crazy, crazy one, but what the heck? Cheers.